We are back, real amigos. I'm back. I'm not as scaly and gross as I was a couple weeks ago. Ian's still back in 2K. Ian, what is up with your thing, bro?
I don't know. It looks great on my end. I can't do anything about it right now.
Seriously, pop open YouTube on the side and look at what you look like.
I feel like that wouldn't help.
Yeah,
I feel like that would make it worse.
All right, so we are back, real amigos. We have sorry about taking last week off. I was still not doing too well last week. You can tell I'm still rashed up, irrational, as they say. But yeah, that is what it is. I hosted the hot sheet this morning for Byron Lazine over at BAM today. So a lot to talk about as far as what the FOMC is looking like and looking at. I did a lot of research on what was happening with the Bloomberg. There's quite a few different like interviews they did. They interviewed the the president of, oh geez, I have the article, but one of the Fed chairs, it was like the Milwaukee Fed chair or something like that. And it was interesting. And I want to get some thoughts on that as well. Aaron, what's up, man? Glad you're here. Ian, are you even alive? What's going on, man?
Yeah, can you see me better or no?
No, you're lagging, bro.
All right, 1 sec.
I can hear you, which is the good thing. You're just lagging. We got a lot to talk about also in the Austin housing market. A lot of good things coming out still, as far as pricing goes, as far as pricing in homes, as far as like the future of Austin. There's some interesting things. And I found an article that I thought was quite entertaining because I've been telling people to buy in this specific area for a while. And people didn't listen to me. No, I don't live in that area. I don't live in that area. And then this article comes out today and I'm going, ha, 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 ha. Ian, you want to know the phone call I had right before the live stream today?
Yeah, I want to know. Tell me.
So
it wasn't me.
No.
Okay.
So this gentleman that I've met with before, he bought a property with another agent, was so unhappy when he bought with the other agent. We weren't going to list his house. Really amazing guy, nice guy. He bought during the pandemic, bought this house, and it was a fixer-upper. And he said, I watched your YouTube channel and I watched the fact that you said to buy in this specific area and these reasons, and I bought it and I'm super happy. In fact, when you did your analysis the other week of like what markets were, like this market was still doing really well. He goes, funny enough, you've been railing on Easton Park for the longest time. And you've been telling people don't buy in Easton Park because the taxes are so bad. He tells me a story. My friend tells me there's this realtor on YouTube saying not to buy in this neighborhood. I'm not going to listen to that guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He then tells me this guy is now having to consider selling his house because of, guess what?
Property taxes.
The property taxes are out of control. And guess what he said? That realtor was right. Yeah. So I thought that was quite interesting. It was great. Dan, thanks for the call again today. It was fun. But Ian, how are you doing, man? What's going on in the market with you?
I'm good. Just put up a new listing today. I've got a few people that are making moves, which is interesting. And I don't know if it's because of the interest rate impact that it's stabilized and even gone down a little bit. I think that's given people some excitement there. And I started seeing, what I'm seeing is people reaching out, asking about properties, asking about selling their property that I didn't expect to do that because they only bought it in the last 2 years or 3. Right. So that's happening more frequently. And I don't think all of these are for property taxes, which is really
it's interesting. I'm seeing the same thing. And, I predicted that was going to happen. We'd see a little dip today, and we did. So yeah, interest rates. I'm not happy to see interest rates in the 7.41, but definitely happy to see them away from this 8.03 from a week ago. This is some of the things I was talking about with doing the hot sheet this morning. What was interesting is on this Bloomberg interview. Actually, let me set this up first before we talk about the Bloomberg interview. Let me set this up. We're going to talk about the Austin housing market, but let me set this up. So this is what we talked about on the hot sheet this morning, was the fact that, boom, let me get me right here. Okay. So this Fannie Mae what do they call this? HPSI. So it was a home purchase sentiment index. Here's my notes from the show. I'm just going to read my notes from the show from today. So here's what the notes were. So the Fannie Mae home, whatever I just said, in the October note shows consumer frustration towards housing unaffordability and inflation affect overall sentiment. 78% of respondents believe the economy is going in the wrong track. 7 percentage points increased from the previous month, with inflation being the top reason for this belief. The survey recorded 85% of consumers indicated that it's a bad time to buy, primarily due to the high prices and mortgage rates. This is an increase from 84% last month. In contrast, 37% believe it's a bad time to sell a home. Overall, the HSPI increased 0.4. So what does that tell you about what buyers are currently thinking?
I mean, it seems that they think that it's getting worse, or this data is old. But I think it's right, or both.
And yes, you look 100 times better. You're coming in hot and clear. Yeah, this is the Ian that we were expecting to see. So 85%, man. 85% think it's a bad time. Only 37% think it's a bad time to sell. I wonder if that data was actually taken in the Austin area, because we have 12,000 units on the market, 4.1 months inventory. What are you seeing for sellers?
Yeah,
we have sellers, but I want to hear what you say.
Yeah, we have a lot of units. We have some units sitting on the market, and a lot of price decreases. I guess I always wonder, where are people getting their information from? And look, like, set aside YouTube, if they're listening to their friends or their family, or are these people that have recently bought? Are these people that are always paying attention to the market? Are these people that are educated on the market? Or are these just people that are talking because they were hit with property taxes and now they want to sell and they're saying, oh, but I can't buy. And so that they're internalizing that because they're just hearing it around.
Yeah. Can you hear this audio?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't hear it playing through the speakers. I can hear you clearly.
Okay, let me see.
It just got louder.
How do you add audio settings? Oh, I probably have to add this. Hold on. So here's what I wanted to go into. So this is what I'm setting this up. So Bloomberg did this interview with the Fed chair of, I think, Minneapolis. And this is what I found really interesting about this is that, you and I, obviously we buy and sell homes and we sell homes as real estate agents, but we look at this at a different lens. The argument is that the Fed is the reason for all of the problems that we're seeing right now, right? Because they didn't raise rates fast enough. They kept rates artificially low. So being at 2 to 3% overheated the economy. I want to get your take on what this Bloomberg reporter says. Now, remember, I've had Bloomberg come ride my car and look at homes here in the Austin area, but I want to get your take on what he says here. Hopefully this will play through the audio. Can you hear it?
No, I can't.
Let's see if it'll let me share. Oh, God, I hate when I have technical issues. Settings.
Well, while you're working on that, one thing I wanted to say is you were looking at the 78% of consumers believe the economy is on the wrong track. One important point about that is that the data came from a month ago, maybe 3.5 weeks ago. So I wonder if that's corrected recently based on the interest rates dropping a little bit.
It could be. I mean, I'm curious to see what happens for this month.
Yeah.
So I'll just read you these notes from this, and I want to get your take on this. And you in the comment section. In fact, I don't know what's going on. There's no comments going on in here, so it makes me think nobody's here. But I can see there's people here. So if you are here, drop a 1 in the chat so we know that you are here. Okay, so here's what the Bloomberg person said. In the space of 3 years, you have both record low interest rates and the highest rates in several decades. Is this housing market broken? What's his name? Kashari says, well, I think since the pandemic, we've structurally underbuilt the number of units we need to meet or grow our population. And that's to meet our growing population. And that's a factor that's really about regulation at the local levels that are creating barriers to more supply coming in. The interest rate environment will settle out over the time, but structurally, we have to actually bring a lot more supply online to meet Americans' needs. So this is something we've talked about over a lot, right? As far as like, Austin was overbuilding, but I want to get your take on what he says about the local level is the problem.
I don't know that that's the case unless you're including or considering a lot of the investments that are happening. So what was it? 25% of homes were purchased by corporations. That's not happening today, but that definitely skewed all of our numbers and made the affordability for a lot of these homes tragic for many people. So when you're saying, is it broken? I think that had a big impact. I think everybody going through this frenzy, not knowing what's going to happen, builders building what they can, taking everything they can, and clients buying because they feel this pressure. I think a lot of people moved faster than they would have otherwise.
Right.
I think that's the sentiment across the board.
So I think, as far as building locally, I think that is a problem. It's definitely a problem, but I think it's a scapegoat for this argument that they didn't move fast enough. Because yes, it does take a long time for us to develop a lot of these properties. But here's what I think is really interesting, and I want to get your take on this next. So I think you're right in what you said there. This is what the Bloomberg person says. You said over time, bring more supply online, but if it could be like, it could be like 20 to 30 years. I think this is an issue here. The legacy of the FOMC could well be a generation of people locked out of the housing market. And then Kashari says, why do you say that? And he goes, there could be a generation of people with 2 to 3 mortgage rates that never sell their home. Kashari goes on to say, yeah, I don't know about that. People end up needing to move. It's funny when people don't sell their homes because they're locked into a low mortgage, that's less resale supply, but that's also one less buyer. Most people who buy homes are leaving another home. So that both affects both the supply side and the demand side of the housing. And this is where I think the Bloomberg writer and the Fed are looking at things from a completely different lens. Here's how he responds. I definitely want your take, and I want your take in the comments on this. And so this is what he says, which is why I said a generation is locked out, because I'm renting and I can't buy. So I'm not selling anything. And that's the generation I'm talking about. That's generation specifically. Are you concerned that this could be a legacy of the FOMC? Nah, I think it's the legacy of this FOMC is going to be dealt with pandemic very aggressively. So think about that, man. Like you have a generation of people that right now don't think that they can actually buy a home. 85% of people don't think they can buy a home. You and I are telling people, look, you can still buy a home. You have to get really creative with the financing, and you got to get really creative with some of the things we're offering these sellers. What do you think?
So it's not 85% that don't want to buy or think it's the wrong time to buy. It's that they think the economy is on the wrong track. And there are a lot of people that do think that it is difficult to buy. I still have to go and say, and this is horrible for some people, but this is one of those truths that you just have to really think about your situation. How many people could buy a house and drive 30 minutes further from the city center? So if they say, I need to be within 30 minutes, I'm not saying that that's not reasonable. That's very reasonable. But I know people that used to drive an hour or more to get to and from work. And if you go an hour from Austin right now, you're getting a $250,000 house.
Right.
So I think it's possible. I think people don't want to make the sacrifice, even if it's only for a couple years, And you also have the Aaron brings up a great point. Buy a new house instead of a new car. Get a crappy car, or a car that's, it's reasonable. Spend a few $1,000s on a car that you know is going to be solid. Get that extended warranty when they call you, and then get a house that is going to build up equity.
That joke took a second to hit me. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
But yeah, I think there are possibilities out there. And a lot of people don't want to ask, don't know where to start, or don't want to make the sacrifice.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting as far as the sacrifice goes. Look, what's interesting and what I hear when I'm seeing all of this is I hear people talking about, oh, back to pre-pandemic, back to pre-pandemic, back to pre-pandemic. When are we going to start looking at now?
Yeah.
Like, why do we got to keep going back to pre-pandemic? I understand that that's a metric, but let's look at now. Where are we now? Where are we going in the future? The question, what are you guys' opinions on the lawsuit? We're going to get to that.
That'll come later.
Yeah, we'll get to this in a little bit. I appreciate the question. I definitely want to get to it. I have some other stuff I want to talk about first, but definitely we will chat about that. I think it's sad that the National Association of Realtors didn't do their damn job for the people that pay them handsomely. So
I know I gotta get a new shirt now. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, great question. We'll get to it. So this leads me into the Austin thing, Ian. So, we look at this as Austin as a whole. We look at Schnazzy. Thank you. Hello, Christina. Good to see you.
Smallhorn.
Looking for 45 pounds lighter too. Thank you. So the question then becomes like, what does the Austin area look like going forward? And it was funny. It was great. Somebody in the comments, Mike Farian, started off the comments basically saying they looked at in the next 70 years where populations would be, and basically said Austin would be at 23 million people. Do you think 23 million people are going to be headed to the Austin area?
That's a lot of people. What was the projection for timeline? How long?
I won't be here in 70 years. I don't think so. I won't be able to see it.
I will.
23.
I'll still be doing backflips.
Yeah. There you go. So
what was that? What was the timeline on that projection?
It's a 20, but in 70 years, 70 years.
70.
Is what it said.
23 million. So don't we have a little bit of a population conversation, right? We have a jobs conversation, and we have a housing conversation. The housing conversation is interesting because a lot of that stems from people wanting to be in urban centers. But as the urban centers expand, people can be all over. So when you say Austin, people might not want to live in Austin. They might want to live in Waco, because when Austin is the size of New York, it's going to be a very different environment. So I don't know how to track that kind of number. People coming actually coming to Austin. And what's the attrition and death rate?
Right. Well, think about 70 years from now. I mean, we just went through a pandemic and people no longer want to work in an office. In fact, the article we're going to talk about is going to talk about that. Nobody wants to work in an office. Nobody wants to work that much anymore. It's really still hard to find good labor, right? Labor not being a derogatory term, but it's hard to find good labor still. So Stefan, what's up, man? Good to see you. You're a woman. That's why. Oh, you're a smart woman.
You are a woman. That's why you bought a $2,000 car.
Sorry,
write that from the internet. So funny.
Eileen, Stefan says hi. She's in the other room over there. So here's what I want to chat about real quick. I'm going to get your opinion on this, Ian.
Yeah.
And you as well in the chat and the comment, especially Christina.
Yeah, this is interesting.
So Austin real estate market's still burning hot, according to the Urban Land Institute. I had to go just straight over to their thing. I hate when they write the article like that, but it was talking about the economies and what was happening and going over 2024, which areas were going to see the biggest development, right? And I can read through this article. I mean, here's our metrics that they were going with: construction costs, labor costs, remote work. But here's what's interesting. Austin still stacks up on this list. Number 5. behind
Mm.
Atlanta, behind Nashville, behind Phoenix, behind Dallas, behind Atlanta. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But it's
Yeah.
interesting that for everything we hear about Austin and hear about how terrible Austin is and hear how the news like Austin's crashing, Austin's still strong on this list for development. So this article breaks it down a little bit more. It says the Austin Institute, Austin ranks fifth, whatever. There's certainly
Industrial.
been no shortage of big names taking up real estate in the Austin area in the recent years, manufacturing such as Tesla, blah, blah, blah. As far as the industrial developments go, production is only slightly down from this time last year. There are 17 million square feet of industrial space under construction in the third quarter of 2023, down 19% the same time last year, according to the commercial real estate firm, whatever. It's 124 million square feet of industrial inventory. And the companies filling these industrial spaces have an ever-growing pool of potential employers. So even the areas around Austin are growing like crazy still. So, we're going to redefine what happens in the Austin area going forward. But like, here's a crazy thing. South Austin, which is, I've been telling people to buy and actually, we're going to get to that in a second. I want to go through, where was the other one? Oh,
Well,
shoot.
let's talk about that. Why would an industrial complex come here, really? Versus, so we've always had a diversity of jobs. That's one of the big attractions, not just the diversity of jobs, but also the location, close proximity to Houston, to Dallas, to San Antonio. We're in the middle of everything. So we are actually the heart of Texas. What you also have is this diversity. So you have your oil money, you have your tech money, you have these manufacturing, which is blue collar workers. And we have so many blue collar workers coming about right now that's going to fuel a ton of development, more so than the tech sector would. The tech sector, think about how many people came here, they worked in the tech sector, and they bought multiple houses, right? Your blue collar workers aren't doing that. They're buying a house and they're working hard and they're doing what they can to get into their first house and stay in that house in most cases. So it's just a different environment. It won't move as rapidly either. Historically, it doesn't move as rapidly. So those are all coys to help Austin's growth not only continue, but also stabilize. Now, if we get a bunch of startups coming back, or, if the startup demand stays strong, then that's where I think you get a lot of the variability. Because if you compare Austin to something like San Antonio, that's the big difference, is the type of workers.
Aaron says those darn tech workers. Stefan said, I just joined LinkedIn's workforce report from this week, mentions 50.9 out of 10,000 moved to Austin. A year ago, it was 120 to 140. So definitely still a lot less. Yeah. And I hope I'm saying this right. It's Tanya? Man, I'm going to mess it up. Sorry. It's been a long day. And Hollywood has the Bastrop starting. Yep. Right. So you have that. They're going to be filming out there. They actually already film a lot of stuff on the east side of my friend's place.
So with the Bastrop thing, I don't know how many people will live there. I would imagine that it does grow. I think it would grow slower, but a lot of people have these houses near the ocean and may not want to relocate. They'll just buy a second home. So it doesn't actually impact our jobs,
right?
Or growth.
But it's gonna impact the local economy, right? So you're still gonna have a lot of production people, video people, those people. In fact, I know a lot. I see Tani, Tani. Yeah, there you go, man. It killed me. Sorry, but you have a lot of those people right now. Like if I post for media work, I get my emails full of people that want to sell me, market and sell me how to, do better video.
Yeah. But how many of them are actually worth the money they're trying to charge you?
Yeah. I had one that I shot.
This is an important thing when you're talking about jobs, right? Because the employers just don't want to pay everybody a living wage.
Yeah. I mean, talk about, what's happening around Austin though, in this same vein. So Houston developer seeks utility agreement as it plans a 113-acre mixed-use project. I was actually going to make a full video about this, and I might add it in a future video. But look, they want to add, and I'll show you where this is at. So this is Fidelis. It wants to add 700,000 square feet of industrial space, 600 multifamily units, 60,000 square feet of retail space in Hutto. And the reason why they want to go into Hutto is this right here, Fidelis, whatever. We are quite certain they would be able to fit and fill industrial space due to their location in a growing community that fits near the region's two biggest projects, Samsung's electrical company factory in Taylor and Tesla Inc., the Gigafactory. So here's where this is looking at going. So they've owned this land for a while. There's HEB. So this is Hutto. This is right in between everything. So they're going to add more right here in this area. This is what they're looking to do. This little spot right here, this piece of tract right here is going to be full of more stuff.
And it's along 130. So they have this toll system where generally there's less congestion. So this goes back to people being able to drive further to work at these manufacturing plants. So I could easily see somebody living in Salado and driving to Hutto, or living in Thrall, or I think I told you right before the pandemic, I sold a client a house in Thrall for like $80,000, and it was on an acre of land, and he only had to drive another 30 minutes out. So, I mean, it was a 50-minute drive, but $80,000, come on. And he's sitting pretty right now. You think that house is still worth $80,000? No way.
No way. No way. Not at all.
No way. And especially now that all of these big developments are going out, you have the Samsung and Tesla's not really close to there. There's another one just announced in Pflugerville, but all those are pushing the value out that direction. What direction is that, Jeremy? Just curious.
That's going to be in Hutto.
No. I know. I wanted to hear you say it.
Hutto?
North Austin.
Oh.
Just saying.
Well, yeah. I'm glad you actually brought that up, because I've been telling people to buy in this South Austin region for a very long time. In fact, your boy actually takes his own advice, and I actually have rental properties in this area because of this reason. And so I'm proud to show you the fact that Jeremy was right again. So here's an interesting article. 270 million plan emerges to bring more housing, restaurants, and bars to South Austin.
The thing is,
this is along the South Manchac area. Your boy already bought property right here, and it's renting out. It's my best rental. But they have the Alamo Den. I was just down here actually today, believe it or not. The Alamo Den's here, Parlay House, Hive, South Austin Beer Garden, District 5. All of this is already here. Las Abuelas, Texican Cafe, Giddy Ups. So this whole area on South Manchac, down all the way down Menchaca, down, has been growing. So here's what they're looking to do. It's a lofty plan for what's already an inevitable I'm done. Environment entertainment area, already 11 venues such as the Hive, South Austin Beer Garden rank. And those, man, South Austin Beer Garden killed it when they built that spot. It was just a blue house in the middle of nowhere. It's great for them. Yeah. Nightlife in south of the river. Project investors want to double venue counts over the next 2 years to include more coffee shops, restaurants, and bars. Man, I need to buy land over here. This district, we believe, is the very near future, is going to become a premier entertainment district outside of downtown, or possibly including downtown Austin. They're actually saying this is going to be more like the old Rainey, is what they had said in one of the articles I read.
Hope so.
Austin NN purchased 22 land parcels located in the ETJ, and is partnering with the property owners in the area to bring interconnectivity to the strip. Austin NN lead developer James whatever, blah 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 blah. But look, they're looking to build the next Rainy Street down in South Menchaca. Your boy has been telling people to buy in this area. Nobody listens to me. They think I'm just a realtor trying to sell you a home. No, I'm trying to help you, trying to make you money. I'm trying to help you. Okay. And then that goes to our, the question about our realtors paid too much or whatever. I'm helping you make money, my friend. and there's a lawsuit out there about that. That's interesting. Go ahead, Ian.
I mean, the argument isn't that it's not growing south, because it's an incredible growth machine. It goes back to the conversation versus north versus the style of jobs. You notice all of those are entertainment, which I love. And at some point, you're going to end up having employers say, hey, there's going to be talent there. Let's start building. But the timeline for that will be a little bit longer. I think it'll be a little bit longer, because you already have them putting them where right now they're just putting everything where land is cheap. A lot of these manufacturing firms. That's why it's in Hutto and Taylor. Samsung can't afford that factory in all. I mean, they could, but they're not going to want to pay that in Austin unless they had some massive tax incentives. There are only a few companies that do that, and most of them were tech startups, right? Like Oracle, not a startup, but tech companies. I guess Samsung's a tech company too, really.
Yeah. So look, again, I think what this all comes down to, the fact is that there's still going to be a ton of development coming to Austin. It's not slowing down. And this isn't a sales pitch for Austin in by any means, but I'm just saying that to count Austin out and say Austin, here's the tough part about Austin. And you tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like Austin's going through an identity crisis, right? It's like the preteen turning into a teenager, and it doesn't know what to do. And we're kind of stuck in this preteen stage, right? So, we're not a girl, but you're not yet a woman, right? And so I feel like that's where, I feel like that's where Austin is stuck, because we have all these really great things going on, but people are feeling the pain of growth, right?
Yeah.
And it's easy to say everything's overpriced, but if you bought a home in 2019, it was overpriced then. And now you're like, wow, I have a lot of equity in my home. And then you're putting your home on the market I really don't want to reduce my price because I have so much equity built in. And that's why we have so many homes sitting vacant on the market, because, what is it? 38 or 40% of homes are owned full out cash, right? Austin was one of the most equity rich cities in the US. Like 76% of people had significant equity built up in their home. So I don't blame sellers for not wanting to reduce their price. Just don't put your home on the market. All right, let's talk about the lawsuit, Ian.
Yeah.
Because this is some things I think people really don't understand. There's a lot of stuff in here that is kind of nuanced and hard to understand. And I'll let you talk from your standpoint, what you think, or however you want to start. And then I want to read something to people so they kind of understand what happens.
So here's what I want to do. Instead of giving a perspective, I want to give a scenario, because I don't think a lot of people understand this. There are so many people that will buy a house or have bought a house recently. They've never sold a house, or it's been so long they don't understand what the process is to sell a house. And this kind of sets the stage for what the lawsuit was about. If someone is selling a home, the general consensus is that, and this is always negotiable, but the general consensus is that you pay a listing broker, and that listing broker has their agents. They will pay the other agent that brings a client to you. Okay. So really it's a cooperation agreement saying, hey, we're all going to work together to sell this house, to do our best job that we can. Now, you also want to think about it. If that listing broker ends up listing your home and finding the client, there might be a small conversation about that where they say, okay, well, I did both jobs, but they really are two different jobs. And so all of that is what came into question, ended up being a lawsuit. And they were saying that buyers need to, sellers shouldn't have to pay for this, shouldn't have to pay for the buyer's agent. That's the argument. And then the question becomes, well, do you think buyers can afford to pay for their agent and their down payment and their closing costs and all of these things and still choose representation that's going to be better off for them in the long run.
What's interesting is I don't think that, so here's the problem, is that you have so many buyer agents that have explained this to their potential buyer that, look, I get paid out of the sale of the home. You don't pay me. It comes out of the seller side.
Yeah.
And look, if we're going to change how real estate's done, okay, let's change how real estate's done. I think the problem is that there's so many agents who, look, the bar of entry to get into real estate is very low. And I think that is a lot of the problem with this industry. You know the math just as well as I do. It's almost 90% of agents that get into real estate are out at the end of the year, the first year. It is a very tough business. It's very cutthroat and it's not easy. And if you're getting into real estate, there's a lot to learn. There is a lot to learn. Having an agent with 10, 15 years experience is crucial compared to having an agent that's brand new. And this isn't knocking a brand new agent. I'm just saying, when you've been through the trenches and understand how to negotiate, how to get things done, how to sell a house, there's a lot of nuance to that. And guess what? There is a lot of times agents spend so much time getting paid for zero. Imagine going to work every single day for months, working all day. And at the end of that five, let's say you're on a 5-month contract. At the end of that 5 months, that deal doesn't go through, and now you make $0. That is how real estate agents get paid. They get paid by the actual thing happening. There's tons of money that goes into marketing just to get a buyer. This is why Zillow is so happy about this, because Zillow sells so much shit to realtors that realtors are paying Zillow 30 grand a month. Can you imagine spending $30,000 a month, or spending 30% of every paycheck, now going to be 40% of every paycheck, to Zillow as a referral fee? Because that's who's going to benefit from this. But even Zillow was here in town and they said buyers and sellers deserve their own representation. And this is where I think this lawsuit got very convoluted, and where NAR did a very poor job of articulating what it is a real estate agent actually does. So there's a thing called dual agency, and in Texas, we do not have dual agency. So what that means, if I list a property and I list it for sale and Ian wants to come buy my property, I represent the seller in this scenario. I'm representing their interests. I'm marketing the properties. I'm negotiating on their behalf. My job is to make sure the seller does not get sued. That is my number one job. Not like, I think people think that the number one job as a realtor is either buy or sell a home. My number one job is to make sure you don't get sued. My number one job is to make sure you don't lose a ton of money. My job is to make sure that you make a lot of money on, if you're selling a home. No crap. I want your home to sell for the most amount of money. I get paid more. I don't want to, and these agents that take a listing just to take a listing and overprice the hell out of it and let it sit on the market for all this time because they wanted a listing and didn't know how to sell it, didn't know how to price it, and they just went with whatever the seller said just to appease the seller. Like, you do nobody any good. And so what happens here is that if Ian comes to me and goes, "Hey, write up the offer for me," and I go, "Sure." And I have this happen all the time. There's a lot of people in Austin that think they can go straight to the builder or straight to the listing agent and they're going to get a deal. You have lost your representation. You have lost the ability to have somebody advocate for you. The likelihood of a lawsuit happening in dual agency is exponentially increased. The opportunity to get sued when you don't have representation goes up so much. I charge the same amount whether you have an agent or not on the other side, because now I'm doing double the work. I got to make sure that that buyer that came to me and wrote and had me write up the offer for you, I got to make sure you don't get me sued. I got to make sure my seller doesn't get sued by you because you don't understand, because you have nobody representing you. Our job is to make sure you don't end up in a lawsuit. And we spend months and months and months. I'm going to give a prime example right now. Ian and I both got referred to the same person. This person lied to me and lied to Ian too. I sniffed it out because I asked some questions. This person said they were looking between buying in Dallas and they're looking in buying in Austin. I'm coming in these couple days. I'm not really sure. And then, oops, I'm in Austin. It didn't make sense to me. Something didn't pass the smell test. And so he said something, okay, we're going to set up showings tomorrow. And I had spent by this time 8 to 9 hours looking up properties for this guy, putting together information of my own time. If I was a lawyer, I'd be charging you $700 an hour, by the way. So think about this. That's $900. That's 9 hours times $700. This guy owes me, not even Ian yet. We're going to get to Ian. So this is the scenario. So I spent all this time with him, conference calls, all this stuff. And then he tells me, oh, I was out with a friend looking at homes today in Austin. Okay. Was your friend a realtor? How are you looking at homes? Yeah, he was a realtor. I instantly go, I have no interest in working with you any further. If you are going to, it was 105 that day. I was like, if you're going to have another agent drive around in 105-degree heat and not respect the fact that agent, he was like, well, I want to see what kind of deal you can get me. That's not how it works. I've already wasted 9 hours with you. Now I'm going to potentially waste even more of my time. And so I said, I respectfully do not want to work with you at this point because I don't trust you as a client. I don't trust that you're going to be honest with me. I'm good. I'm out. Go work with that other agent that you just wasted time. So I tell Ian about this and he goes, oh yeah, I've been out with this guy. I go, is the guy's name this? He goes, yeah, this is a Thursday, by the way. I've been out with this guy since Sunday. Ian had spent since Sunday showing that gentleman around town, looking at properties, opening doors. We're talking 5 days he spent with this person. Ian, did that person end up working with you?
We ended up putting in a very unrealistic offer at the end of it all, but no, gone, ghost.
So Ian wasted 5 days, over 40 hours. If you wanted to charge per hour, we're talking $700 an hour. If you hire a lawyer to work on your behalf on a contract, they're going to charge you by the hour and they are paid to rack up the hours. Okay. So all of that time Ian spent was lost. All that 9 hours I could have been spending with somebody else was lost with somebody who actually wanted to work with me. So I wanted to read through this thing that somebody wrote. And so I'm not going to read through it now because I think I've made my point there. We spend hours for free and we don't get paid until the end. And so this lawsuit's disappointing to me for the fact that someone didn't articulate very well how they pay the other agent. And then it became this antitrust. Now, what does this mean for the future? It potentially means you as a buyer are going to have to pay the buyer's agent fee. Now, there's a few ways that can happen. You can pay them directly. You can wrap it in from the loan. There's going to be a few ways to do that. Currently, how it works is if you are going to sell your home, you offer a fee. The listing agent says, look, this is my listing fee. In order for me to list this home, I'm going to offer a fee to the other side to incentivize. So it makes the buyer easier for the buyer to actually, for the agent to come to me. Now, if let's say the percent was 6%, if I wanted to, I could offer as the listing agent 4% to the other side and only take 2% as an incentive, even more for somebody else to come in and buy that house or an agent to come negotiate against us. I don't do that personally, but if I wanted to, as the seller, you could offer 0. The challenge is that it does make it harder for the buyer because most buyers are first-time home buyers. So does that buyer have the closing costs to close on the home? A lot of times those same buyers are asking you, the seller, for closing costs to buy that home for their loan fees. So now you as a seller can say, okay, fine. Now I'm going to hopefully get more potentially, but you're also disincentivizing buyers because now they're going to have to come up with that fee. That means that though, as a buyer, you are going to have to start doing a better job. Yes, you as a buyer, listen, if this does shake out the way it does and you end up having to pay your buyer's agent, this is something you're going to have to sit down and negotiate with your agent before time. And you are going to have to think about, who the hell do I really want to work with? Who is really going to, if I'm actually now having to pay this fee, who do I actually want to work with? Do I want to work with that brand new agent that's just going to try to give me a discount that maybe screw me over? I don't know. I'm not going to say that's going to happen with new agents. I'm just saying, or are you going to go to the bulldog agent that's been a bulldog agent and ask them to help you, because you're going to actually have to pay their fee. So this is something to think about. This is something to think about because, look, my wife just closed a deal that took 13 months to close. It was new construction. The builder was messing up everything in this house. They paid my wife only 2% instead of 3% because this is what the pandemic was doing. And that was off the base price. So my wife worked at a reduced fee for 13 months. We're talking every issue that could have gone wrong with this house went wrong. And she got paid a reduced fee. Do you think that that's fair? Would you want to work for someone for an entire year and at the end of it, they back out and you get paid zero? Because that's what we take on as real estate agents. We take on the fact that we get down to the very end and you terminate that deal, I get paid $0. So think about that.
Well, imagine if you go to your norm, whatever your job is, and you're expecting a certain salary and you work your 40 hours. And then at the end of the week, they say, well, we're not going to pay you 40 hours. we would like you to give us back 20% of that or 50% of that because we don't think you worked hard enough. That's not how these arrangements work. And I don't think people see that when they're taking others' time like that.
Yeah.
So
the long and short of this, nothing is going to change immediately. This is going to get appealed. There's going to go through legal channels. There's going to be a million other lawsuits that happen. So for the time being, us as agents, it is our responsibility to inform you as a buyer when we sit down and have a buyer consultation. Look, here's what happens. If for some reason the seller on the other side doesn't want to pay me, we're going to have a negotiation as far as how you're going to pay me. Okay. Right now, if a seller doesn't want to offer a buyer agent fee, they don't have to. The problem though, if you don't, is that you may not see any buyers on that home. That's why for sale by owners, sit and 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 don't sell. Or what is the stat? It's like they sell like 40% under where they should have sold because they don't have someone actually representing their interests. So go for sale by owner if you want. Again, you don't need you don't need a real estate agent. You don't need a lawyer. You don't need you don't need a tax consultant. You don't need somebody to give you open heart surgery. You don't need all of those things. Do it yourself. Go for it. What are your thoughts on Redfin? Redfin's a real estate brokerage. I can't give you any insight on Redfin. They work on salary. So I can tell you. Do you want somebody that works on salary or works on your best interest? You tell me. Because on this channel, I spend hours and hours and hours putting together content for this channel, hours putting together content for this channel of my time to inform you what's happening in the market, hours of my time. And then I go out and I sell homes. I run a team. I help agents. I mentor agents. Ian and I both mentor. Ian's got what? 15 agents that you mentor. I have 2,600 agents in my downline at Real Brokerage that I mentor, that I help. So yeah, my time's valuable. And so when I work with somebody, I want to make sure they work with me and I want to make sure that they are getting the best and highest value. And that's why we put together this channel. That's why Ian and I spend every week sitting here talking to you, answering questions about what do you think about, here's the question. See, this is why I got to think in my mind. He's asking me about Brushy Creek, right? Wants free information maybe. And then asks me how I feel about Redfin. So are you going to go to spend my time to now go work with a Redfin agent and you want my free information on Brushy Creek? So that's the things that have to go through my mind. And that's why I have to be very careful about who we spend time with. And look, we've had amazing clients. The greatest thing that's come from this YouTube channel, Ian, is the amazing clients we've worked with. I've gotten to work with some amazing people. And Stefan's in the chat right here. Appreciate you, man. Like, look, we work with some amazing people. I don't work with as many people as Eileen does. Eileen is absolutely fucking amazing. She is one of the best realtors that I've ever seen. No offense, Ian. She is one of the best realtors I've ever seen because she's meticulous and she wants the best for her clients. Do you want to work with somebody like that? I'm just messing with you, Weston. You're good, man. I'm just messing with you. This is what goes through my mind, though, in the chat sometimes when people ask me questions. Do they just want free advice or do they need my help? They really need my help. So, Ian, what's up, man? I'm blabbering on, man. I'm getting the feels.
I think you need to get it out, yeah. Right? I think it's the thing that it's that unspoken truth that a lot of people, if they don't hear it, they'll never know. And I think that does happen. Most people, I want to believe that they have some honor in them. Okay. I don't know if that's true or not, but I have hope for humanity. And I try to do the right thing. I know you try to do the right thing. And I think a lot of people just want help. They don't necessarily know how the pay structure works, how the time works. They're just like, I need to save money and I need to get a home for my family. Then there's the type of person that will step on any toes to get what they want. And it doesn't matter who they run over or whose time they waste to do it. And that's all you're trying to weed out. That's all we're trying to weed out is how do we protect ourselves and our time with our family and our friends and our work and our other clients so that we're not taking away from them to give to someone who will never care, never appreciate it.
Running, families. You have a family?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Weston, to answer your question, we just put a client under contract today. Not that question. I just put a client, Eileen, my wife just put a client today under contract in Brushy Creek. The options were there, or what was the neighborhood? Not Millwood. It was, shoot, how am I drawing a blank on it? Wells Branch. They're looking between theirs and Wells Branch. And Eileen explained the differences between the two, and they chose Brushy Creek. That's why I need a good agent. Sorry. Oh man, it got all quiet in here.
There's a lot to say. It's just a lot you can't. Yeah. We're not allowed to say.
Yeah, I mean, look. The other thing too is there's a lot of legal matters here with this, and I got to be very careful about what I do and don't say. I just think it's tough because, people don't understand how much time goes into this and how much we don't get paid for. Like today, I'm running around getting listing photos ready for a property. I'm literally cleaning a house, right? I have better things to do than be cleaning a seller's house, but I am. And I'm literally picking up stuff. Most agents, are probably going to do that. I hope they're going to do that, but nobody really sees that. They see, oh, this guy made 3% commission, or this guy made, whatever it was on this, without seeing all the hours and time that went into that ahead of time. And I think that's where things get missed. It's like, what was that? The story. So this woman goes up to Picasso and says, "Oh, you're amazing. Can you draw a picture on this napkin?" So Picasso, draws just sketches something and then says, okay. And then gives her an exorbitant fee for it. And she goes, "What do you mean? You only took a few minutes to draw that?" And he goes, "My dear, it wasn't the few moments. It was the years of experience that it took to draw this." And I think that's what people miss.
Learn how to draw it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. What else? Give us something positive.
Yeah, something positive.
Did I tell you about that? I told you about that listing earlier. I can't say that on here. Anyway, I've got a listing in
yeah, you got a listing coming up. Right?
Yeah. So they're signing that all right now. It's a good one. It's so funny. I like Aaron's comment. He loves it though because he'll never sell. He will never. And you know what? Yeah. Here's what I love about Aaron. He said that to me day one. He was like, "Listen, before you say anything, I will never sell a house. You will never make any money off of me selling a house. I just want you to know that." It's like, dude, that's awesome. The transparency and the honesty it's incredible and it's much appreciated. And that's any client. Most clients that I've dealt with and we've actually closed a home have been rock solid. There are only a handful that, and I want to say a lot of it was during and after the pandemic because times are rough. But that's when it seems to be where people are less appreciative. Before the pandemic, people understood what the value of a good agent was because they had to negotiate. They had to actually market to be able to sell the home. Homes didn't just fly off of everything. And so every agent didn't look like a rock star.
Yeah. I think that's a tough thing right now is all those agents that did so well during the pandemic that didn't have experience before the pandemic. Like they're like, "Oh, I have all these listings. Why are they sitting? Why aren't they?" Well, are you doing video on it? I can show you all the videos we're doing on our properties.
Yeah.
Are you doing PPC ads? Are you doing blogs? Are you doing I literally have listings on blogs right now. I have stuff. I have emailers going out. I have this cool one coming up, Ian. Got to show you this one. So check this one out. So this one is, if anybody's looking for an STR, so short-term rental condo complex, this is a short-term rental right here. Ian, tell me that location. Do you think that location looks like a good location to you?
It's probably one of the best. For an
Yeah.
STR. That's good.
Yeah. I got a STR coming up right here off Nooning. 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,200 square feet. 1,200 square feet, 3-bed, 2-bath for $400K. STR condo.
400.
Yes.
Oh, it's
Look,
a condo.
home,
Okay.
condo. Home slices right there. Joe's
Yeah.
Coffee, the iconic Joe's Coffee.
And
Ava,
there's going to be
Torchy's.
some leftover scooters on the street too, so it's perfect.
Yeah. So hit me up if you're looking for a really good STR right here. Right. I mean, geez, home slices right there. It's right here off Nooning, wherever that was. That one's coming up in a week. I'm excited about that one. I've already started sending that one out, and I've had people DMing me like crazy on that one.
I like that you mentioned the PPC ads and the videos and all of that. When people are interviewing their agents, they don't think through that we take care of those costs. We hope that doing these, and we know we use these strategies, that it will help increase the likelihood of a higher than list price sale or market sale, higher than market sale. So that's really cool. That's really cool. I'm glad that you brought that up. And what were you saying?
Oh, no, go ahead.
No. Ian took 4 weeks for me to close.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of people became agents. We've lost a lot of agents. So back to that lawsuit, I think that'll have an impact. I think we'll end up losing a lot of realtors. Realtor is not a real estate agent. Who's the big firm that dropped out?
Well,
it's one of them. It might be Redfin actually. That was part of.
Redfin dropped out of the MLS.
Yeah, and now they're not part of National Association of Realtors, right? And so there's a lot to that. The Association of Realtors. The idea is that there's a specific code of ethics that you're supposed to follow to ensure that your client is your fiduciary responsibility first and foremost. And so removing yourself or detaching yourself from that changes the rule, right? Which is why a lot of builders aren't part of the National Association of Realtors. That's a whole other topic. Well, it's also why you can sue realtors if you find out that they're not looking out for your interest.
Yeah. What's interesting is that, I mean, I did a whole video about builders, so I don't want to go on a whole diatribe about builders right now, but so look in the channel, I just put one out, but I personally have built homes with builders and bought homes with builders. And it's when you walk into a builder's office, the builder rep's number one job and only job is to sell you a home. I'm not saying that they are doing anything bad. I'm just saying their number one job is to sell you a home. My number one job is to protect
their home.
Correct. My number one job is to protect you and your assets. Totally different. And so I'm not saying that's bad by that part. That's what they're paid to do. That's their job. Like, I've had so many good experiences with builder reps. I've had bad ones. I've had ones that they're so excited. They get over their skis and they say all these things that aren't necessarily true. They get you excited about the property. And then you're building a property going, wait a second, you said we were getting this, and this. Where is this? Right. And you know, and then I have people call me that didn't use me. And they're like, hey, by the way, I'm under contract on this build. And they said this, is that right? What, you're calling me now? Hold on. I'm $700 an hour. It's a minimum of 2 hours. So let's go ahead and schedule a time for me to help you. You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't want to use me and now you're in trouble and you don't know what to do. So you're going to call every realtor you can to get free advice. You put yourself in a bad position. I'm not saying all builders are bad, but you got to be careful with the builder, especially the builder reps, because the builder reps are an intermediary between you and the builder. And their number one job is to sell a home, their home. But look, there's a lot of good, like, I'll give a shout out, like Highland Homes, my girl Lula over there, man, she's been great. Her, Renee, they've done a great job with our clients. Very respectful of our clients, very respectful with us. I'm a big fan of them. So give them a quick shout out. There's the ones I'll give you a shout out. My listing is 1202 new. I mean, you can reach out to me, email me, and I'll send you the information on it, Weston, if you are doing a 1031. So what else we got, Ian? What else is going on, man?
Dude, we got 8 o'clock. That's what we got.
Yeah, I got pickleball right now.
Do you? You started playing pickleball?
Bro, I've been pickleball. Why?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Look at this.
You're right.
Look at this physique, man. Look at this.
That's
physique.
from.
I lost 40
That's
pounds,
from
bro.
that's from a good diet, though.
40 pounds.
That's from
it's
a
all
good
pickleball.
diet. No. That's from a good diet. That's why I've been taking Kung Fu, man. I am so flexible, so agile right now. I should play some pickleball.
Yeah, you should play some pickleball.
I do.
All right, everybody. I really do appreciate everybody that's stuck around with us, that's taken the time, that's either reached out to us or consulted with us, that's taken the time. I mean, really, we've spent so much time on this channel, especially during the pandemic. I mean, there was nights we were spending 3 hours on here when Kevin was around. So I appreciate that. Ian, man, I appreciate you. I
appreciate you.
I appreciate the value you bring on this channel because I couldn't do this channel without you. So I just want to say thanks for sticking around with me. And I hope it's been fruitful and beneficial for you. I know Aaron stuck around because of you. So thank you for bringing Aaron around.
It's okay. Aaron's here.
Aaron's here. It's okay. All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Take care, everybody.